Elite Dangerous was once a galaxy full of possibilities. Thargoid secrets were hidden in the depths, we found strange Guardian mysteries and artifacts, and of course there were a multitude of undiscovered worlds that were still fresh and had never before been seen. With 400 billion stars waiting to be explored, both Frontiers and the player's focus was very much on the galaxy itself and how it was driving the story. Now jump to 2025, more than 10 years after the game's release, and something has shifted. And I would argue that it almost feels like Elite is going through some form of identity crisis. But this is something pretty deep, it's significant, and it bears looking into. Before we do that though, please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. I don't normally ask, but I'm finding out that people doing this helps the channel far more than I realised. So today we have huge new updates like Power Play 2, System Colonization, and even Vanguards. Each of these are changing the way we interact with the game, and these are without a doubt great changes, vital changes even. But, and here's the kicker, the focus has moved away from the game world and world building, and is now focusing exclusively on gameplay and mechanics. It's an ambitious shift for sure, but for some, it's starting to feel like the sheer wonder of the galaxy is slipping away. And in some ways, this is an identity issue for the game. For example, look at any gaming media between 2015 and 2020 on Elite, and it will be full of interesting stories on alien mysteries, strange discoveries, and alien artifacts. Today, the focus is on building space stations and mining-based community goals around locked star systems. So, my question is this. Is Elite evolving into a whole new game, or is it leaving the old guard behind? With that in mind then, let's take a look at what has changed, why it matters, and where the game goes from here. From the end of 2014 to around 2020, Elite Dangerous very much belonged to the players. At least, that is how it felt to me. That was the game where players set out to chart the galaxy. They built a seriously impressive galactic mapping project and even named entire regions of space. The first colonization attempt that became officially known as Colonia was an initiative driven by players. And then entire gameplay ideas were created. The Distant Worlds expeditions being one, these are perfect examples. Tens of thousands of players organising together without any direction from Frontier to create the largest in-game event the game ever experienced. I could go on, we had the Fuel Rats, Canon Research, and many more besides. And of course, there were the things Frontier themselves added. This period of time, from the end of 2014 onwards, was very much a time when the galaxy was the star of the show. In other words, Frontier focused on world building. The first Thargoid mysteries appeared in 2015, and these were so unique in the gaming world that they made headlines in the gaming press. Now some of you older players will undoubtedly remember these strange alien beacons discovered in space that broadcast signals that players learnt to decode. And then there was bizarre alien ruins found on planets that led to all manner of player-led investigations. And let's not forget the truly massive Guardian structures in space that even to this day viewers of my videos are still surprised to see, and they're often unaware that these things even exist, let alone that these were used as a part of the ship upgrade process. The list goes on, and prior to 2020, Frontier went all out to bring the galaxy to life in a way that other games have rarely done, and this was very much about world building. Of course, they also added new gameplay, some of which was very good indeed, other parts not so much. We had multi-crew, engineering, ship-launched fighters, and even planetary landings with the Horizons update. 2021, however, was a pivot point. The release of the Odyssey update upended the game entirely in a lot of different ways, and just maybe we'll never know just how deeply this actually harmed the game, and how close that Elite just might have been to its end at that point. That's speculation of course, but it was a feeling that was very much present at the time. Here then, in 2025, the world of Elite is very different. Frontier have moved away, at least for now, on the focus of world building. Today, the focus is very much on gameplay. The last 12 to 18 months alone have seen an entirely new colonization system that allows players to build space stations. There's been a complete overhaul of power play, and more recently, a new implementation of squadrons. In short, Elite in 2025 is less about war, mystery, and the galaxy at large, and more about gameplay enhancements. And for me, this is a marked change. It leaves Elite feeling somehow less. Of course, we can still explore, we can still head out to the unknown, but today it's, well, less about unknown and more about simply finding more of what we already have. There's no new artifacts to discover, no new alien ruins, and there's no strange mystery slowly building. In short, the galaxy is now fixed in place. What it is now is what it will be tomorrow, and the next day, and likely the day after that. That's not to say that Frontier haven't tried to further expand the world building, because of course in 2023 and 2024 we had the Thargoid War, which culminated in massive Thargoid Titan motherships attacking the bubble. So this was very clearly world building on a grand scale, but at the same time, in many ways, it was less about mystery in the sense of uncovering a past and more about a looming threat. That said, it worked, and it worked very well. But it was an entirely different kettle of fish to the world building we had between 2015 and 2020. Yet, even whilst the Thargoid invasion was very different to what came before, it was still a part of the process that showed the Elite Galaxy could change, that it evolved, that events happened outside of player control, that sooner or later there would be something new for players to find. Today, Frontier's approach, at least so far in 2025, and we're nearly at the end of the year, has very much moved away from that. The current focus is on systems, gameplay loops, new overhauls, and all of this is very welcome indeed. It's much needed, it's important, and arguably even vital for the game. The new ships that are being released are also nice to see, especially the likes of the long-awaited Panther Clipper. So I'm not saying that Elite isn't getting new content, it clearly is, but the nature of that content has changed. Even that said though, there are a few quiet hints that Frontier are continuing the mysteries, but for now at least they appear to be more narrowly focused than in the past. The current community goals and stories that are focusing on the star system of HIP 87621, these are hints and suggestions that maybe, just maybe, all of this will ultimately lead to something new, and some people are speculating that maybe it will lead into an overhaul of exobiology. In other words, perhaps new things, or at least new methods of discovering things on planetary surfaces. We will of course have to wait and see how this all pans out. It's an interesting possibility nonetheless, and a direction I would very much like to see. However, it's a far cry from what we saw in the early years. This after all is very different to a new alien mystery leading to a new story, a fresh chapter in the Elite Galaxy. So all of this comes back to the point I made at the start. Elite Dangerous between 2015 and 2020 had a very specific identity. From 2021 to 2024, that identity was clearly shifting after the problems caused by Odyssey. And here, today in 2025, Frontier are very clearly focused on making Elite a better experience for players. They want to attract and appeal to a newer audience. The steep discount in the recent Steam sale is a testament to this. I mean, the game was available for little more than £1 or thereabouts. And then factor in the avalanche of X-posts that were made by Frontier appealing to new players and highlighting a variety of newly released player guides from YouTubers. Meanwhile, the Vanguard's update is clearly focusing on expanding Elite with MMO-style guild systems. Colonization is a great update, but built on older gameplay loops such as delivery of resources from A to B. In short, 2025 for Elite Dangerous has been about redefining the current game and expanding upon it, and this is a shift from previous years. It feels like, in a way, there is nothing new for the old guard players that want to sort out the next mystery. They wanted to explore alien ruins or locate massive, strange alien artifacts in space. Ultimately, it feels like a game that has changed its identity. In some ways, perhaps for the better, but in some ways, certainly for the worse. Of course, we'll have to wait and see for the unannounced update that brings what it's going to bring later this year, as well as where the events of HIP 87621 lead us. Ultimately, as a veteran of Elite Dangerous, someone who's been following the game for over 10 years at this point, it's hard not to see that 2025 has marked a shift in the identity and direction of the game. Do let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this. As always, thanks for watching this video all the way through. There is another one on the screen right here. Please do check that out. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.